Friday. Thank you for tuning in to This Is Now. Honolulu police have launched a murder investigation after a horrific discovery in a Kakaako condo.
Yeah, officials say a man was found dead inside his apartment with stab wounds.
A 63-year-old man was found dead in his unit at the Pacifica condo building on Kapi'olani Boulevard Wednesday night. The case was initially classified as an unattended death, but HPD changed it to a murder case. Investigators say it appears the suspect and victim knew each other. We're working to confirm if any arrests have been made.
The three Wahiawa relatives accused of torturing to death 10-year-old Gianna Bradley have pleaded not guilty. The girl's legal guardians, Thomas and Brandy Bloss, and her biological grandmother, Deborah Giron, appeared together from OCCC yesterday. They're facing numerous charges, including murder, after the malnourished child was found dead last month with extensive injuries. The judge denied their requests to be released on bail, saying the possible sentence of life without parole makes it tempting to flee. Their trial was set for April, but it's likely to be delayed.
Only on Hawaii News Now, we've learned the FBI is investigating an alleged murder-for-hire plot targeting a federal judge and special prosecutor in the bribery case of former city prosecutor Keith Kaneshiro and several campaign supporters. The alleged targets, federal judge J. Michael Seabright, who had to recuse himself just weeks before trial, and special prosecutor Michael Wheat. Both have had 24/7 protection from the U.S. Marshals since December when the contract killer case started. Defendant Sherry Tanaka is under investigation for allegedly trying to hire a hitman. The FBI executed a search warrant at a Kalihi business last month owned by a Tanaka relative, a prominent businessman, Michael Irish.
Because Judge Seabright recused himself, it does mean it's serious. It does mean there's a possibility of someone being arrested, and that makes Judge Seabright a witness and a victim in the case.
Tanaka has a hearing today to determine if her bail should be modified or revoked. In a statement, Mike Irish told HNN Investigates that he is cooperating 100% with the authorities and providing whatever information can help. His attorney says he is a witness in this case and has done nothing wrong.
Kauai officials say a fallen tree that hit utility lines at Anahola Beach Park had been burned, and it's part of a trend. The county says trees at Lidgate and Anini Beach Parks were also burned recently. Police are investigating them as possible cases of arson. This weekend marks 2 years since Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine, igniting a war that's delivered heavy losses on both sides. With no end in sight, Ian Lee takes us back.
The fighting in Ukraine has been relentless and fierce. Ukrainian soldiers defending their homeland are outgunned and outmanned. Avdiivka is the latest city to fall to Russian forces. This battlefield commander says, "We have a big problem with manpower. We simply lack men." Western weapons have kept Ukraine in the fight, but Russia is sending wave after wave of troops toward Ukrainian positions, suffering more than 300,000 casualties, according to U.S. estimates. Ukrainian troops are exhausted. Their ammunition is dangerously low, and they're worried American support is too. The U.S. has given an estimated $110 billion to Ukraine.
There is a strong, palpable desire among virtually all of the G20 for the Russian aggression to end and for peace to prevail.
Despite support from President Biden in the Senate, House Republicans are reluctant to give more aid. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warns without it, Russia will continue to make battlefield advances. He even made a plea to Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump.
If Mr. Trump, if he will come, I'm ready even to go with him to the front line.
Zelensky has guided Ukraine since the early days of the war, but his country faces uncertain times ahead as the war enters its third year. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
More stories from the Kansas City parade shooting are emerging, including that of 2 off-duty nurses who ran in to help the injured. They later found out that 2 of the men they helped were the suspects in the shootings. They say they were simply answering their call of duty. Juyeon Kim has more.
Two women, both named Jessica, were near the same place at the same time during last week's Chiefs rally. When the chaos broke out, they helped two men individually, later to find out those two men were Dominic Miller and Lindell Mays, two suspects charged with second-degree murder and other felony charges in connection to the mass shooting. I'm curious, what was it like for you when you heard and it was confirmed that it was Lindell Mays?
I knew it was a probability that there was some kind of involvement when I saw the gun laying there.
Jessica Dean is a nurse from Wichita. Even though she was off duty that day, she couldn't just run away from people who needed help. Jessica says she did chest compressions on Lindell Mays and used her sweatshirt to stop the bleeding.
Other people's actions are their burden to bear, and I had to do what I was going to be comfortable living with.
Meanwhile, two other healthcare professionals, Jessica Daigle and her friend Lacey Richardson, were there after traveling over 3 hours from Iowa. Lacey had just worked a 12-hour shift.
I do believe that I was supposed to be there, as tired as I was.
They ran to Dominic Miller when the shooting broke out, Lacey jumping on top of him to keep him still, and Jessica holding up his head. They protected his body from being trampled by people running away.
Once he was gone, her and I embraced and fell to the ground. There was nothing left in my body that could hold me up anymore.
The two were in communication with Dominic's family until the charges were announced this week. I asked them how they're processing the news.
So hearing all of that, am I angry? Absolutely. Would I have done anything different? Absolutely not. That's my job. I took an oath.
All three ladies say when you work in a profession like healthcare, it's a part of your identity, and they would do what they did 100 times over.
I assume a handful of people who did a really horrible thing that day, but there were a lot more people who I think did something wonderful.
The Alabama Supreme Court ruling that ruled frozen embryos the same as people is continuing to stir up controversy all across the states. Here's some more reaction from lawmakers.
Following the Alabama Supreme Court ruling classifying frozen embryos as people, several in vitro fertilization clinics there are pausing operations. And now lawmakers here are weighing in on implications for Tennessee.
I have family members who've used that. I have friends who've used in vitro fertilization. And to me, that's very pro-life to use in vitro fertilization.
And in a political environment where Republicans and Democrats are so often at odds, today, on the issue of IVF, they appeared in agreement.
The other side seems to always be pro-family. This is probably the least pro-family thing the Alabama Supreme Court could do.
Those conversations came up here in Tennessee and they didn't advance here. So that's where I'm at. I just want to make sure that we're pro-life all the way. And I don't know how pro-life that was.
And Governor Lee spoke out too, though not taking as firm a stance. Asked about it at a governor's forum put on by Politico, saying Thursday, "The issue is new and I haven't looked at the particulars of that case, but generally I'm supportive of IVF. It's the next step in what we look at as policymakers." Another very difficult, emotional, personal issue, as fallout from a decision in Alabama can be felt hundreds of miles away. Jason Lamb, News Channel 5.
A whirlwind trip for a White House cabinet member who spent 2 days surveying federally funded projects on Oahu and Maui. U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg has signed off on nearly $2 billion for 100 projects. Ben Gutierrez has a closer look.
Secretary Buttigieg's itinerary for the day did include Honolulu's airport, but it also took a hard look at an even more important piece of infrastructure, Honolulu's harbor. Buttigieg was part of a Hawaiian blessing for construction of the Kapalama container terminal at Honolulu Harbor, a project that will cost nearly $600 million, with Phase 2 set for completion next year.
85% of the goods used in Hawaii are imported, everything from food to electronics to construction materials, and almost all of them come through Honolulu Harbor first.
Or, put another way,
for harbors, nobody knows there's a problem until no more toilet paper.
And the Kapalama Container Terminal, also known as KCT, will improve Hawaii's stevedores Inc. and Peixe Hawaii's operations, strengthen the supply chain to the state of Hawaii, and get goods where they need to go faster and more reliably.
KCT will be next to the existing Inter-Island Cargo Yard, which means 50,000 truckloads per year will move directly between the two, instead of having to hit Nimitz Highway. The Biden administration also granted $47.6 million for new electric-powered cranes to lift those huge containers off cargo ships.
We'll replace the old diesel cranes at Pier 51, further reducing emissions and bringing a much faster service to the people of Hawaii.
And the piers will also be modified to deal with climate change.
We had to raise the pier by some 3 feet to contend with sea level rise and global warming. 3 feet is a lot of concrete to pour.
The secretary also hopped aboard the city's Skyline train along with Mayor Rick Blanchardie, Senator Brian Schatz, and others. The city recently got $744 million in federal money to finish the rail line to Kakaako.
He came here prepared, and I think also is now impressed with respect to what we've been able to accomplish thus far with the rail. We talked a lot about where we are and where we're going.
The federal government has also given $22 million to improve roadways and energy systems at Daniel K. Inouye International Airport, which handles 21 million passengers a year.
I saw the plans that are underway for improving taxiways, runways. I'm sure that federal funding will play an important role in that future vision, and that's part of why I was so glad to see it for myself today.
Ben Gutierrez, Hawaii News Now.
In news out of the campaign trail, South Carolina's Republican primary is tomorrow, and polls show that former President Donald Trump has a commanding lead over Nikki Haley in her home state. But the former South Carolina governor is vowing to stay in the race no matter Saturday's outcome. Erica Brown reports from Washington, D.C.
Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley is making her final pitch to voters before the state's Republican presidential primary Saturday.
So now we have a decision to make. Do we want more of the same, or do we want to go in a new direction?
Polls show she trails former President Trump by more than 30 points in her home state, but has vowed to stay in the race, arguing she has a better chance than Trump of defeating President Biden in November.
Donald Trump cannot win a general election.
Trump focused on a potential rematch with President Biden, not the Republican primary, as he rallied supporters in Tennessee Thursday.
The restoration of law and justice in America begins with firing crooked Joe Biden on November 5th, 2024. If we don't fire him, our country, I believe, is doomed.
And Nikki Haley's supporters tell CBS News they believe she should stay in the race as an alternative to Donald Trump, who is facing a series of legal challenges this election year. Many South Carolina voters we spoke to have their minds made up, but not all.
I think Trump's got it in the bag, and she's wasting her time.
She's a smart lady. She works hard.
I really have not made a full decision on who I'm going to vote for on Saturday.
But a recent CBS News poll finds most Republican primary voters in South Carolina are firmly supporting one candidate. Erica Brown, CBS News, Washington.
Maui residents are calling on the governor to help stop them from being evicted. Housing advocacy groups held a press conference yesterday in Wailuku. Residents on the verge of homelessness say they believe their landlords are evicting them in order to get more money from FEMA for housing fire survivors. As of now, the law only protects tenants who fail to pay rent. They want the governor to ban evictions for landlords who want to sell, renovate, or move in with family members.
2 boys that is foster came off the streets, and they're afraid. They're 16 and 17, and we're gonna go right back on that street. And they told me, no, we've been there, mama. We've been there.
The Attorney General argues landlords have the right not to renew a fixed-term lease when the contract expires.
Let's send things live outside now. This is a pretty new camera from the Waikiki Aquarium. Ashley, what a beautiful day in Waikiki it is, right?
Absolutely. 79 degrees, lots of sunshine, some cumulus clouds there. We're going to have your forecast and a sports update after a quick break.
how's it on this Friday? The trade winds will be getting stronger over the weekend. And starting tonight through tomorrow, we'll see a few more showers, mainly for those windward and Mocha areas. And what we have this morning are a few passing showers coming in from the east-southeast. The showers are on the move, so we're not expecting any large rainfall totals. And the winds will be getting stronger. They're not that strong just yet, but it's still early. As the day progresses into tonight, those winds will really firm up, and they'll be quite breezy through the weekend. So we're starting out a little damp, yes, for windward areas. Not a lot of rain. Drier by lunchtime with those passing showers coming through the windward sides from time to time. And those winds 15 to 25 by the end of the day, getting even stronger by tomorrow. And as far as the surf, it's on the way down for now, but we've got an advisory level swell expected into north and west shores by tomorrow afternoon. So heads up, big waves on the way. And again, it's going to be a little bit windier starting tonight through tomorrow. And the winds will hold firm into the weekend. And as far as the rain, we're going to see a couple of fronts move in tonight and tomorrow morning. And then we'll see drier conditions move in by Sunday.
Hey, happy Aloha Friday, everyone. Davis and Kyle in the Digital Center today with your weekly sports updates. Kyle, busy week going on. A lot of UH news. Bows coming up this weekend. What's going on?
Yeah, tonight we have men's volleyball taking on Missouri S&T in their second match in the two-game series. That's a quick one. And then Saturday we have beach volleyball over at Queens Beach. And then you also have men's basketball on Saturday and baseball on Saturday. So busy Saturday. And then on Sunday, something new. We have the spring game for UH football that is set for 5 p.m. at the Ching. There's going to be, it's free admission, first of all, so free of charge. You have food trucks. You have a live DJ during the game. First chance to get to see the 2024 version of the Rainbow Warriors. So it's going to be a lot of fun getting your first chance to see Timmy Chang in year 3 and how he's kind of put the pieces together of this team from the last 2 seasons, which I'm sure a lot of people are hoping for improvement. So we're going to get our first chance to see if that stands.
Lots of new players, lots of new faces for this team. This seems like a great way for the community not only to come out and see the new team, but also get some more engagement with the whole entire program as a whole.
Definitely. You know, they're excited to see the fans again. They've been kind of practicing in this bubble all this time. Haven't really seen the fans since their last game. So it'll be a good chance, especially for the new guys, to see some of the fans out there, and for the returners to get back with the community.
So fans get to see the team in person, but soon they're going to be able to see them virtually as well.
Yeah.
Kyle, they're coming to video games, right?
Yeah. So EA Sports yesterday announced that all 134 FBS schools will be featured in the upcoming EA Sports NCAA College Football 2025. That includes Hawaii. So we're going to have the Rainbow Warriors in the Mountain West Conference, and you could be seeing Braden Shager, Pafele Ashok, some of your fan favorites in the game as well, because up to 11,000 student athletes will have the opportunity to opt into the game to have their image and likeness in the game as part of EA Sports' NIL deal. So if you decide to opt in, if you're a student athlete, you have to have an official college email when applying.
As a college student, I mean, $600 that can go a long way. That's a lot of meals.
Yeah. And a free copy of the game. You have to go out and buy it. That's going to be super cool. And they're also for kind of the higher echelon of college football players. They will have an ambassador program where they'll get a little bit more compensated, but they have to do, a little bit more appearances, maybe promote the game a little bit more.
So lots of UH stuff coming on. We have all the latest updates on our sports podcast, HNN Overtime. We post every single Friday. You can get the latest sports updates with us. So make sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure to follow our Instagram. Kyle, it's another week. Let's get it.
An American spacecraft is finally back on the moon's surface after more than 50 long years. The lunar landing, which left Earth last week, successfully touched down last night. Mark Strassman has more.
We can confirm, without a doubt, is our equipment is on the surface of the moon, and we are transmitting.
A space milestone for a robotic lander named Odysseus, the first commercial moon landing.
10 miles to go.
And the first American touchdown into lunar dust since 1972.
Welcome to the moon.
Intuitive Machines reports Odysseus landed upright, but final descent was a nail-biter. The spacecraft lost its navigational capability, but found it was riding with luck. Part of its cargo, a NASA navigational experiment. Flight controllers tapped into it to help guide the lander softly to the surface.
This is the assembly room.
When we visited the company last year, CEO Steve Altimus showed us that NASA instrument.
This is actually helps with navigation. It's running independent of our navigation system, but this is NASA's entrant into how you do precision landing on the moon without GPS.
NASA Administrator Bill Nelson.
It was a NASA payload that saved the day.
Odysseus targeted its landing near the moon's south pole, prized by NASA because its craters may contain ice, which would mean water, a necessity for deeper space travel.
Now we're having these commercial companies go way out there to the moon, and they are serving as scouts ahead of us sending our astronauts.
Odysseus has 1 week to work. Ultra-cold lunar night will set in and freeze its solar batteries. But what an arrival. Mark Strassman, CBS News, Atlanta.
I don't think my time here on Hawaii or my experience or my connection would have been the same without meeting you when we did. So such an honor. Congratulations.
In today's Good News Now, a beloved community figure is being honored on Kauai. He's usually the man behind the camera, but now Dennis Fujimoto is in the spotlight. A longtime photographer for the Garden Island newspaper known as the Happy Camper, he's always out at community events and helping cover the Garden Island's big stories. And as part of this year's Waimea Town celebration, Fujimoto has been selected by the community as the 2024 Ambassador of Aloha. And we're told this is the first time the honor has gone to someone not from Kauai's west side. Fujimoto was presented the title at a ceremony on Wednesday at the historic Waimea Theater.
Oh my ka'i to him. He is such a beloved figure on Kauai. For those of you who don't know, Ashley and I are from Kauai, and we've seen him out at any island event, you name it. And also, we saw the blazer, the sparkly blazer he had. But if you look closely at the other picture, let's see if I can go ahead and pull it up here. One of his famous outfits is his Aloha shirt with his photography vest. And if I'm not mistaken, he's wearing that vest underneath there.
Yep, sure is, with the pockets.
Yes, he is so iconic. Congratulations. And I last saw him at one of the parades. I think it might have been the Lights on Rice parade. He saw me in the crowd. And from walking, he ran over to me and gave me a bag of malasadas or goodies or something. And it was just such a fun moment.
He's
so congratulations.
He does not age either.
Yeah, no.
It's a secret of his.
Yeah, happy camper.
Yes, we love you, Dennis. Do we have time for one more?
We sure do.
So if snakes make you cringe, you might want to not listen to this story. So scientists discovered a new species of snake in the Amazon rainforest, possibly the biggest in the world. This is a picture of the newly identified northern green anaconda. A team from the University of Queensland found several of the gigantic snakes while filming an upcoming TV series in the Ecuadorian Amazon. The team's leader said they encountered a female anaconda that was more than 20 feet long.
Hard pass. Let's instead go straight to Waikiki to end this beautiful Aloha Friday. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
Aloha.